Wanna move my feet, wanna drink my wine, wanna move my feet.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff from Condo Space, and I'm standing down in South Lake Union. I have the number one thing that you guys should focus on if you're thinking about buying a condo. Come follow along. All right guys, so it's true. This is the number one thing that you should do when you're considering buying a condo. You need to understand how to review a resale certificate. Okay, so for some of you guys, you may already be yawning. This is not very exciting stuff, but this is truly one of the most important steps that you can take. So why is it important? Well, a resale certificate is a set of documents that is passed from a seller to a buyer in a real estate transaction when someone's buying a condo. And you know, you may already be kind of like tuning this message out, or it may not sound fun and exciting, and it's not. But if you guys want to make a good investment and you want to make sure that you avoid the pitfalls of buying a condo, this is something that you absolutely have to pay attention to. The good news for you is I took this document that I call How to Review a Condominium Resale Certificate, and I put it on the blog, okay? And I'll link it down below. And I want you guys to ask questions. These are some really serious topics that you have to pay attention to when you purchase a unit, okay? And again, so it's a set of documents that is passed from a seller to a buyer, and within those documents, there's some things that some of you guys might know about already, like reserves, okay? Or bylaws, the declaration, rules and regulations for the building. Can you rent the condo? You know, is it a condo that you're gonna be able to rent if you have to be, if you have to move, if you're relocated, you know, or if you come across hard times, you need to move out of the unit and rent the unit in order to generate some income. Are you going to be able to do that? Well, the resale certificate will tell you exactly what you can or can't do in a certain project. Plus, it's the lifeblood of a condominium. So this is what gives you guys access and transparency before you purchase the unit into what's really going on in a building. Okay, so what I did is I separated this how to review a resale certificate in 6 kind of easy steps and topics. So as you'll see in this, before we get started on these 6 ways to review a resale certificate, I want to make sure you understand this quick tip, and it's about the summary. Okay, one of the most important documents that comes over in that resale cert is there's this summary of the resale. Okay, so this resale summary basically will give you a quick snapshot into the entire document that you're about to review. This is critical. It actually saves you a lot of time. Plus, you can get into some of the most important parts of the entire resale just in those first 4, 6 to 8 pages. The summary, you should be able to look at some very important items right out of the gate. So the reserves, how much are in the bank accounts, you know, the delinquencies, how many people are delinquent and paying their HOA dues, are there any judgments, are there any liens, are there any issues currently going on in the building, which are very, very important for you guys to know. And then in some cases, the summary will also show information about your ability to rent the unit, okay? So moving back on to the 6 steps to review resale certificate. The first one we're gonna talk about is reserves. I tell you to look for the reserves. The reserves are effectively the bank account for the condo project, okay? So when you think about, just think of it like your own savings account. You know, if you're a homeowner and your roof needs to be replaced, do you have enough money in your bank account in order to fix the roof? Okay, so the reserves are a part of the resale certificate that you really want to pay attention to. This shows what the piggy bank or the bank account balance is for the project. And then what you'll have, and I'll discuss this later, there's a way to understand through what's called a reserve study if you have enough money in your reserves in order to fund the projects that are upcoming for the condo project that you plan to buy into. So the first one is looking into the reserves. It's very important, and you want to make sure that you understand what the percentage is of a fully funded project, meaning that if you are 70% funded, that means that you still need 30% more in reserves to be 100% funded. Okay, if that doesn't make sense, hopefully it will by the time we move on through the rest of this document. Okay, so number 2 on the list. This is the reserve study, okay? So the reserve study is really simple and very, very important. It's done by a licensed and bonded contractor that specializes in looking at the building envelope, and it's a contractor that is going to give you kind of a forecasted picture of what you can expect in terms of upcoming expenses and expenditures in a building to which you're about to buy. Okay, so you're buying one unit in this entire building of units, and you need to understand certain things, like for instance, when is the elevator going to be maintenance and how much will it cost? When are we going to need a new roof? You know, when is the building going to experience the situation where they need siding? Everyone's seen a building that's had their siding replaced. They wrap the building, it looks like in bubble wrap and shrink wrap in order to fix the siding and the windows. So the reserve study gives you a clear picture into what the next 30 to 50 years is going to look like if you happen to buy in this particular condo building. Critically important, okay? So outside of the summary, you've reviewed the bank accounts, the reserves. Now you've reviewed the reserve study. Critical that you guys pay attention to the reserve study. You'll know exactly what you're stepping into. When you don't pay attention and you buy a unit without really looking into the details, the very next year you could go through a siding replacement. If you don't have enough money in the reserves, they do special assessment and they will assess you or charge you, like let's say $1,000 is owed, you know, for a unit owner that has 650 square feet. Or in some cases, I hate to even admit this because it's so terrifying, but this is why I'm telling you guys this. I've seen owners that have had to pay $30, $40, $50, $60,000 in special assessments. Oftentimes, those people are reaching out to me. I didn't get the chance to work with them, and they're asking me, what should we do? How do we move forward? This is the exact reason why I'm telling you guys you need to review the resale certificate in very clear detail, okay? It's incredibly important. All right, so let's move on to the third step in how to review a resale certificate. This is the meeting minutes. Okay, so this one's very straightforward. The condo building will have a president, a treasurer, a secretary. You have this system set up so that you can work with your property management company and you can do the things that you're supposed to. For instance, maintaining the structure of the building, carrying through with your operating expenses, making sure that you're paying your concierge, that you're paying your maintenance people, that you're paying your cleaners. Your property management firm will work with you as a building and your board to maintain the things that need to be done in a building in order to keep it up and running. Well, meeting minutes are one of those things that you'll see in a condo building, usually quarterly, sometimes semi-annually, or at least once a year, when the homeowners meeting occurs, okay? The secretary will take meeting minutes of everything that's discussed in that homeowners meeting, oftentimes quarterly. So when you buy in that particular building and you go through the resale certificate, you get a chance to see what everyone's talking about. You know, maybe in the meeting minutes you find out that there's an upcoming special assessment. You know, that there's an issue with the building and you guys are going to have to get it remediated, but it hasn't been assessed yet. Well, that's a good example of why you review the resale. If you know that there's a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 expense to you as a future owner in this building, you may not want to buy in that building. And that's exactly why you review the meeting minutes, just as well as these other points that I've made so far. Okay, so reserves, reserve study, meeting minutes. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is the rules and regulations. Okay, this one can be simplified. Rules and regulations are very important because you need to understand how long can you be up on the roof with your friends? Can you have a pet? If so, can you have a dog and a cat? One dog, one cat. Can you have a dog at all? Or is there no pet policy? Can you have your pet snake? You know, the rules and regulations really spell out everything in that building that's allowed and disallowed. So obviously this is something really important that you guys should review. In addition to that, you'll often be able to find out about a rental cap. This is a big word in condos. If you guys buy into a project that has a rental cap, and let's say you're relocated to New York and you need to move, are you able to immediately rent your unit? And if so, do you have to turn your lease into the association? Do you have to have them back channel and look at the tenant that you're leasing to? And what if you're not allowed to rent? I mean, wouldn't that be devastating if you had to be relocated to another job and you weren't aware that you couldn't even rent your unit? Some buildings have rental caps where you have to go on a waiting list. And so these are things that are very important for you guys to understand before you buy the condo. And the only way that you find this stuff out, if not through the brokers like myself, is by reviewing the resale certificate. Okay, so rules and regulations, pretty straightforward. Something you absolutely need to review. Let's move on to number 5. Okay, number 5 is the declaration. The declaration is full of important information, but one item in particular that you really want to pay attention to is, and this sometimes you'll see in the summary, is the percentage of ownership. Okay, so the percentage of ownership, so the owners versus the rental ratio. This is something that your lender might pay attention to, might need you to have within a certain ratio. And for you guys, it's good to know too. Do you want to move into a building that has 50% tenants and 50% owners? Or would you rather move into a building that has, you know, a little bit more pride of ownership, more owners, less tenants, therefore maybe they're maintaining the building better than if it was a condo building full of tenants? Does that make sense? You want to pay attention to that level of detail, some of which can be found in the declaration. So the declaration also gives you an opportunity or some color into like the parking and storage. You know, does your unit come with parking? If so, is it deeded? Does it come with storage? If so, is it yours for sure? Do you know where it is, and how do you find it? Oftentimes you'll see that in the original declaration that was designed and developed when the developer was bringing that project to market. They go through the bylaws and the declaration, and you have an opportunity to review that. So that's number 5 on the list. So you're reviewing the reserves. You're reviewing the reserve study. You're looking at the meeting minutes. You've looked at the rules and regulations. Now you've reviewed the declaration. Number 6 on the list. Okay, so the last one. This one's very important. This is the annual financial statement and the budget. Okay. What's important with the financials is you just want to make sure that the building is well run. Okay, that they're paying attention to their operating budget, and that the amount of reserves that they have coming in and the amount of dues that they're collecting, that it works synergistically with what their operating expense is to run the building. Okay, so does it appear that they're running it well? Annually, have you seen the operating budget fluctuate greatly, or has it been minor? Does it look like they are maintaining the building with the right vendors, cleaners, exterior window washing, that they're not overpaying the concierge? These are things that you guys have an opportunity to look into and when reviewing the financial statements, and it's something that I would encourage you to do. Now, I have plenty other tips and plenty of things that I can help you guys with in terms of the resale. I summarized a very big process into a single document that, as I mentioned before, is on the blog. Those are 6 steps, 6 ways that you guys can review a financial statement. And trust me when I tell you, this is the very most important thing that you can do before you buy a condo, is actually reviewing those documents. Now, when you get the resale certificate, well, it's typically right when you go under contract. If they don't have it readily available, sometimes you can review it before you even write an offer. They are required to deliver it to you, in some cases, between 7 and 10 days. And then in the state of Washington, you have 5 days to review that resale certificate. Very important. I hope you guys learned a little bit from this process. This is obviously something I've been doing for 15 years. And so for me, it's pretty simple to help people understand what to look for and how to review certain items. And for me to give my opinion on just kind of the strength of the building based upon what we see in the resale certificate. I look for red flags and little things that you guys need to be aware of or watch out for. And that just comes with experience. But at least this gives you kind of a roadmap of what you guys can use to your benefit, whether I work with you or not. And hopefully this is useful for you. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do me a favor, hit the like button. Let me know if you guys have any comments or questions down below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I would love to have you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.